Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to help you get well-informed fast. Today, we're doing something pretty specific. We're looking at a stack of five, massive, hard science fiction novels. And the interesting thing is, despite how different they seem, they share a surprising amount of, let's call it, intellectual DNA.
Right, quite a stack.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
We've got Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary, the interstellar survival one. Then three huge ones from Neal Stephenson. Cryptonomicon, the Baroque cycle, that whole three-volume beast, and his more recent one, Termination Shock. And rounding it out, Stanley Robinson's The Ministry for the Future.
Heavy hitters, all of them. And look, we're not here to do book reviews, are we? Our mission today is different. It's about connecting the dots, finding the common threads, the philosophy, the way they solve problems that you might miss when you're deep in the cryptography or the 17th century economics.
Or the orbital mechanics.
Or the orbital mechanics,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like a shortcut, really.
Yeah.
To understand why these specific books feel different, why they hit that certain spot.
And we're talking directly to you, the listener. If you find yourself drawn to these kinds of really dense, information-packed worlds, well, we're trying to figure out what that intellectual itch is. What kind of knowledge are you actually seeking, and what are these authors trying to teach you?
Yeah, what's the underlying lesson plan, almost?
Okay, so let's start there. The hard sci-fi label, we all kind of know what it means. Spaceships obey physics, right? But for these books, it feels like something more. What's the real appeal of that hardness? And why would someone who loves Project Hail Mary also love, say, the Baroque cycle? They seem worlds apart.
Well, I think the synthesis, when you look across all five, shows that hard isn't just about physics or biology. It's broader. It extends into history, economics, complex systems, cryptography. It's about intellectual honesty, maybe. These authors take the rules of these complex systems, whether it's finance or code breaking or climate models, really seriously. They're not just, background color. They're fundamental to the plot.
Foundational, not decorative. I like that.
Exactly. And the reader who connects with all five, what's called the learner, they're drawn to that rigor. They actually enjoy seeing the constraints observed strictly. No magic wands, no easy outs. The pleasure comes from seeing characters solve incredibly difficult problems within those real, often messy constraints. That aha moment when a technical puzzle clicks into place. That's the reward.
Right. So the complexity isn't a barrier. It's actually part of the draw. The constraints are the story, in a way.
Precisely.
Okay, but that raises a big question, doesn't it? How do these authors pull it off? I mean, they're teaching incredibly dense stuff, advanced science, deep history, global finance, complex computation. How do they keep it entertaining? How do they stop it from feeling like homework?
Well, that's the clever part. It's what you might call pedagogy through immersion. The learning isn't optional. It's not like an info dump you can skip. It's absolutely critical for the character's survival or success right then and there.
Okay, give me an example.
Okay, take Project Hail Mary. You're dropped right into astrobiology, weird physics, orbital mechanics. But you have to grapple with the astrophage, understand Rocky's biology, because if you don't, well, the sun goes out. Game over. Or Ministry for the Future, you're learning about carbon quantitative easing, weird crypto ideas for climate finance, geoengineering, because the planet's climate system is actively collapsing around the characters.
Right. The stakes are immediate and existential. And Stephenson does this with history, too, doesn't he? In the Baroque cycle, you're wading through this immense historical detail, but suddenly you realize you're learning the nuts and bolts of how modern finance or encryption even started, because the characters need to figure it out to, found the Royal Society or just stay alive.
Exactly. The complexity drives the urgency. You can't skip the bit explaining how the alien life reproduces in Hail Mary, because that explanation holds the key to stopping extinction. It forces you, the reader, into the same problem-solving mindset as the characters. You're learning 17th century banking with Daniel Waterhouse because he needs that knowledge to fund something world-changing.
So the learning is tied directly to the stakes.
Absolutely. Intellectual mastery is the path to survival.
Okay, but let me push back a little. Does that density ever backfire? I mean, for someone who isn't already fascinated by, say, cryptography or the history of banking, can the sheer amount of information sometimes swamp the story, the human element?
It's definitely a balancing act. And look, these books are polarizing, right? Some people bounce off them hard. But for that target reader, the learner, the density is the reward. It's not the cost. For them, I think the human drama actually feels more real because the technical and systemic constraints are so meticulously detailed. The final success, if it comes, feels earned. It's not just a narrative resolution. It's understanding how it was achieved technically, logistically, scientifically. The detail validates the solution.
The complexity validates the triumph. Okay, I get that. Let's shift gears a bit then. Let's talk philosophy. All these books revolve around huge, often world-ending problems: saving the sun, fixing the climate, building secure information systems, navigating historical upheavals. Is there a shared philosophy here about how humanity actually solves these massive systemic problems?
Oh, absolutely. And it's consistently anti-simple. If there's one message across all five, it's that big problems rarely have easy, fast, or singular solutions. The answer almost always involves massive, coordinated, collaborative effort. It requires changing systems, not just applying a patch. And often, it's interdisciplinary.
Right, not just one brilliant invention.
No, rarely. Look at KSR's Ministry for the Future. The solutions aren't just tech. They involve global politics, inventing new financial tools like the carbon coin, shifting economic paradigms. It's a whole system overhaul, and that echoes Stephenson's work too, whether it's establishing the scientific method in modern finance over generations in the Baroque cycle, or the distributed, almost hidden struggle for digital privacy in Cryptonomicon. It's system building, or system rebuilding.
So the scale of the fix is part of the intellectual DNA, which leads us to the characters. You said it's not classic heroism. So what is compelling about watching someone like Ryland Grace figure things out, or the economists and policy wonks in KSR's book?
It's the triumph of competence. Pure and simple. These protagonists aren't usually warriors or traditional heroes. They're scientists, engineers, mathematicians, economists, historians, cryptographers. They are experts. Their heroism isn't about bravery in battle. It's about sheer intelligence, relentless methodical thinking, and dedication to figuring things out.
Can you give a concrete example, like Ryland Grace in Project Hail Mary? How is he different?
Well, Ryland Grace is literally a high school science teacher,
Right.
thrown into saving the world. His superpower isn't strength, it's the scientific method. He applies it rigorously, iteratively. He runs experiments, he observes, he calculates, he fails, he adjusts, he tries again. We're not watching him dodge lasers. We're watching him painstakingly work out the energy output of an alien microbe or the physics of a light sail. The thrill is in the process of discovery and logical deduction.
It's the victory of the spreadsheet over the sword, as you put it earlier.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
It elevates expertise. It suggests that knowledge, systems thinking, technical skill, that's what truly matters when the stakes are high. That's the real power.
Okay, this focus on competence and systems. It leads to the big question about outlook. Are these books optimistic or pessimistic? Because, let's be honest, the starting points are often incredibly bleak. Climate collapse, extinction events, societal breakdown.
Right, the situations are usually dire. That's the pessimistic setup. The systems we've built are flawed, fragile, often on the verge of collapse. That's acknowledged up front. But, and this is the crucial balance, the resolution, or the attempt at resolution, is almost always driven by a deep faith in human intelligence and collaboration. The optimism isn't in the situation, it's in the process. The belief that smart, dedicated people working together using science and reason can figure out a way through, even from the worst starting points.
So the message is, problems are huge, often our own fault, but human ingenuity, when applied systematically and collectively, is powerful enough to find solutions.
I think that's a fair summary, yes. The capacity to analyze, design, and build better systems is the source of hope.
Okay, so let's imagine our listener, the learner. They've read all five. They've absorbed this specific blend of hard science, deep history, systems thinking, cryptography. What's next? Where do you go after consuming this, frankly, demanding canon? That's a great question. You can't easily just switch to something light, can you? It leaves a certain intellectual taste. I think the next step has to maintain that synthesis, that blend of rigorous thinking, technical depth, and human drama rooted in competence. So the learner might look for other authors who really ground their stories in economics or sociology, maybe, or perhaps nonfiction that delves into the history of science or technology, the kind of stuff that clearly informs Stephenson's work. The key is continuing that exploration of complex systems and methodical problem solving. It becomes a genre preference in itself.
Right, looking for that same intellectual signature. Okay, this has been really clarifying. Let's try to boil down the key takeaways for everyone listening. First, these 5 specific novels, Project Hail Mary, Cryptonomicon, Baroque Cycle, Termination, Shock, Ministry for the Future, carve out a unique space. Entertainment here comes directly from wrestling with complex real-world knowledge, physics, economics, history, computation. Yeah, the rigor is the entertainment for the right reader. And second, the underlying philosophy is pretty consistent. Yes, the future looks daunting, threatened by systemic failures we often created, But the path forward lies in the methodical, collaborative application of human intelligence and technical skill. Not lone heroes, but expert teams tackling complexity head-on. That's presented as the viable, maybe the only, optimistic route.
So here's a final thought to leave you with, something to chew on. These books are fundamentally a celebration of competence, of technical mastery, of systematic thinking. They reward the detailed application of knowledge. Given how popular these demanding books are becoming, does that suggest maybe what people are really craving, especially when facing huge real-world challenges like climate change or economic instability? Is it less grandstanding, less political rhetoric, and more of that quiet, persistent, evidence-based, technically sound problem solving? Something to think about. Until the next time we dive deep.